For three primary value-added services to small business owners: free one-on-one counseling, face-to-face, telephone, email, and video, which can be accessed via the Request Mentor link on our website or via the link on the screen. Note, we currently are not doing face-to-face mentoring until further notice. Educational workshops and webinars, we put on over 150 per year. And we also have extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject matter experts at your disposal. We are in the process of converting some of our canceled in-person workshops to live webinars due to the national health crisis. Look for specifics on the Fairfield County Score.org website. Updates are happening daily. Some useful information about today's event. If you have a question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It is located in the lower part of your screen. Our webinar will end at 1 o'clock sharp to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available at fairfieldcounty.score.org within the next couple of days. Now for our speaker. A business workflow and logistics expert with 25 years of experience, Rocket Girl Solutions founder Belinda Wasser is hired by small businesses to act as their part-time business manager. She helps her clients make more money, more efficiently, and with less stress via streamlining and improving systems, online payment setup and management, social media engagement, website builds, and marketing automation. See her newsletter articles and testimonials on her website, rocketgirlsolutions.com. I'll now turn it over to Belinda. Belinda, it's all yours.
Thanks, Tim. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
You sound great.
Great, awesome. Hey, everybody, welcome. If you're like me, you discovered pretty quickly when you started working from home that it is very different from working in an office. Everything. You know, when you're sort of trained to work in an office, you have routines and there's a culture that happens that everyone follows about, you know, when you get coffee and when you show up and when you leave. But when you're working from home, that all goes right out the window. So today I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've learned from working at home. I've been working at home full-time for 9 years, and I really enjoy it quite a bit. So let me tell you how I make that work. So first I'm going to give you some overall strategies, and then we're going to dive right into each one of them. The first one is I'm at my desk pretty much the same time every day, and I have a routine that I follow. The way I start my day is by looking at emails that have come in overnight and prioritizing them before I jump into any project. So that way, I'm pretty sure I won't get pulled away unexpectedly. And I also block time on my calendar to work on specific projects. And I'm going to show you my calendar, and I'm going to show you how I do that and how I make all of that work. The last thing, this was one of the most important things for me. I plan to be at my desk all day, almost every weekday. Now, I've been working virtually full-time, like I said, for 9 years. And the thing that makes this so good for me is that it's really straightforward. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to say, okay, so I'm gonna, take time in the middle of the day to do this, which you absolutely can do. But for me, in order to do my best work, I just sort of surrendered to the fact that I'm at my desk all day, every weekday. Whoops. The first thing you want to do is you want to get dressed, right? And everybody tells you this, but I got to tell you, it's true. Now you don't need to get dressed up, but when you work at home for a long time, you kind of get like a uniform. My uniform is yoga pants, a t-shirt, I always take a shower in the morning and really get myself, there's something about that it's sort of like ingrained in us, and it triggers that the day is getting started. So definitely get dressed, whatever that means for you. No matter if this is a permanent event for you, that you're working from home, or it's just temporary due to what's going on the planet, you definitely need a dedicated workspace. I really can't stress that enough. And it doesn't have to be a big space. For years, the space where I worked was only a little bit wider than my desk, about 3 or 4 inches on either side. And I always tried to put it in a place where I can see out a window, or something that's pleasant. Natural light helps quite a bit. So you can see here, this is my desk looking out a window in my backyard. One of the things that I have here that I want to bring your attention to is I have 3 screens. And that has been one of the smartest things that I've ever done, because it allows me to be more productive. So that's a really important part of my desk. Also, you want to make sure I have pictures of my family and a few fun things on my desk. It's important not to clutter your desk. That can be a separate issue, but it is nice to have it be pleasant. Now, for your physical workspace, you definitely need a desk or some kind of some kind of place to put the things you need to work. It doesn't have to be fancy. This is an IKEA dining room table that I've used for years. I recently got upgraded for a Christmas present, and I have an IKEA standing desk now, which works really well. But the key is to have this dedicated place where you can, it sort of signals that you're not working anymore when you leave that space, which is important when you're working from home. You also need a really good chair. So this is the Herman Miller Aeron chair. It was a little bit crazy expensive. I got it like 17 years ago, I think, and it's been amazing. It still looks great. You don't need to spend a ton of money, but make sure that you get a chair that it supports your back, and you can be comfortable in it, because you're going to be in that probably more than you are going to be in your bed. Make sure that you have a phone that's great, and also that's great at home. When I moved into this particular house, I had to get a cell phone booster, because every time I got on the phone with a client, my phone would cut out, and it was annoying me and it was annoying them, and that was not okay. So I got a phone booster, and now my signal's great. You also need to make sure that you get some earbuds or some way to work hands-free so you can use your keyboard, because you're going to be in virtual meetings significantly more when you work from home. And then the last thing is you need strong internet. Now, I know a lot of people I've heard a lot of people complain about bandwidth lately. So I do tons of video, and I need solid bandwidth. So I upgraded my internet, and also I have an actual cable connected to the modem. The router. And you can get really long cables, so you don't have to worry if, like, my router is pretty far away from my computer. But when I started to do this, I just ran a cord, and it works really well. So make sure you're supported, because it is so distracting, and because it's a little bit more difficult to work at home for a lot of people than in an office. Make sure that you have what you need, and also make sure you have the supplies that you need. When you're working from home, I think a lot of people think, oh, the scissors are in the kitchen, the Post-its are in the drawer, and I think there's a calculator somewhere. And so what I recommend is to shop and get what you need. Shop online, go to staples.com, or wherever you like to buy your supplies, and make sure you have everything you need right at your fingertips, so you're not getting up and looking for something. I know with my family, I've been clear from the beginning that they don't touch stuff on my desk. That's like, they do not. I refer to it as my money-making cockpit, and nobody touches anything. So you can make that rule as well to make sure you have what you need. Now, there's some other tools that you might need when you're working remotely, depending on what kind of work you do. I use Evernote to take notes. Pandora I consider that a tool because I listen to music all day long. MailChimp, Stripe, lots of different tools to support my business. But what I want to do right now is I want to talk about Zoom for a minute. since everyone went home to work, I've given 4 or 5 Zoom demonstrations. And this morning I decided to add a couple of slides into this presentation so that if you're new to Zoom and you're feeling uncomfortable, I can give you some tips so that that won't be the case anymore. So a lot of times people want to know what camera they should use. This is the camera that I'm using right now. You can't see me, but it works great. There's probably newer ones. I've had this for about a year. But if you're thinking about a camera, this might be one that you look at. I've had Logitech cameras for a really long time, and they're sturdy. Now, I know you just joined a meeting, but I just want to walk through what just happened in case it's confusing to you. So the first thing is you click the link to join the meeting. Whoops. The option to join from the browser is going to appear. And then you may be, it depends on how the person set the meeting up, but you may or may not be prompted to enter your name. Now, once you do that and you join the meeting, you're going to be in the video portion of the meeting, but you still need to connect the audio. So a box is going to pop up, and there are 2 options for joining the audio. One is to click the blue button if you have a microphone and speakers in your computer, or the other is you can connect via phone call. So these are numbers in the United States, the meeting ID, you'll be prompted to put that information in. Really easy. If you're working with someone overseas and you go to the Zoom website, they'll provide you with phone numbers for people overseas as well. I just want to step through the controls really quickly so that you guys are ready for this, to use Zoom at home. So if you hover over the screen, a black bar will appear at the bottom. Over on the far left, you'll see this little caret here where it says Join Audio. When you click Join Audio, a couple things will happen. One is you can test your speakers and microphone, and the other is the audio settings will come up, and I'm just going to walk you through this real quick. Okay, really easy. One of the things I love about Zoom is that when you look at all of the controls, they're really easy to understand. Like, they use actual English and it makes sense. So I really appreciate that. So here at the top, you can see you can choose your speakers, you can test your speakers, your microphone, the whole thing. You can adjust your volume. One of the things that is super cool that I want to make sure you know about is it's really good etiquette to mute yourself when you're not speaking. However, it can be clunky to unmute and mute yourself using your mouse. And so typically I leave myself muted and then I hold down the space bar and then I hold it down the whole time I'm talking, and then I just release it and I'm muted again. So that's sort of a pro tip that I really like. All right, let's bop over to video real quick. All right, so hover again. You can see this while I'm actually using Zoom. You'll see the caret, and there's going to be 3 things now. Select a camera, video settings, and choose a virtual background. So I'm not going to really go into that much today, but you can have some fun with it. You can buy a picture of a brick wall, or I don't know, some football stadium or something, and put it behind you, and that makes it kind of fun. Here's the video controls. The main thing here I want to tell you about is if you want to take about 10 years off of yourself, click the Touch Up My Appearance. I don't know what it does exactly. I'm going to Google it later, but I think it sort of softens the camera, and it does make you look fabulous. So make sure you're going to do that. I didn't put this one more slide in, but I want to mention it. Make sure you watch the camera angle. Make sure that the camera is at your eyes. Make sure that your whole head and your shoulders are in the screen. What else? That's mostly it, but you just really want to pay attention to how you're sitting, because it's as if you're in a meeting and it's important. Okay, now if you hover again in the middle, I'm going to just really zoom through these because they're not as important, but I want you to know what they are. Invite means invite someone to the meeting you're currently having. If you click on that, you'll see there's a URL that you can use. There's also options for different email. Manage participants, that shows you how many people are in the Zoom room, and if the meeting belongs to you, meaning you set it up, you You can mute them, unmute them. You can turn their camera on and off. Polls are a quick way to ask the audience a question. So today, if I had set up a poll, I might say, how many people in here are permanently working at home? How many are temporarily working from home? Just to get a feel for who's in the room. You can share your screen, which is awesome. That's what I'm doing now. I'm sharing my slide deck. Chat is like text. You can, you just want to be careful here though, because I believe the default is set to everyone. And if you want to privately chat with one person, or you want to chat to, you know, like here we have a chat going with for just the panelists. So before you press send, make sure you know who you're talking to depending on what you're saying. And then you can record the meeting as well. It can either be recorded on the cloud or on your hard drive. There's more to Zoom, but for the most part, this will get you what you need, you know, to get started. And I really didn't go beyond any of this for a long time until I developed that presentation. One last thing. If you want to set your own meeting up, you do that by logging into your Zoom account on the cloud, click on meetings, big button, start a meeting, schedule a meeting, very self-explanatory. Okay, all right, so now we're gonna go back over here. So I want you to track your time, and I want you to do that for a couple of reasons. One is that when I first started working from home, I work a lot and I really like working. And I tracked my time to sort of, I'm trying to think of the right word, convince myself that I had worked enough, because it just, working at home, it didn't feel the same. It felt like, it just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like work. And so this was a long time ago, I tracked my time on a Post-it. And now I get paid by the hour. So I use a tool called Toggle, and I track all of my time. But do this even if you're not getting paid by the hour, because I think it'll show you how you need to adjust your work, you know, whether you're working all the time or you're not, because it's going to feel different if this is new to you. It's going to be, it's different. I don't know how to describe it, but for me, I had to put parameters in place to keep me kind of out of my house. And this was one of the first things that I did. Right, so this is the big challenge right now, right? Because everybody's at home, and it feels, I joke around here that it feels a little bit like take your family to work day, because, you know, everyone's everywhere. So in the past, when I would do a webinar like this, I didn't have to tell anyone. And now I'm walking around my house saying, don't come in, don't come in. So, you know, they learn, they definitely learn, but it is a whole, it's a whole piece of this is managing this. Now, when I had a job, what I used to do when I managed people is, and I needed to close my door and seriously get something done, I would close the door, but I would put a Post-it that said, busy, will open the door at 1 o'clock. So that way, anyone that needed to speak to me, they knew when it was going to end. They knew when they would have access to me again. So you could try this at home as well. You know, just let everybody know, please don't come in, don't disturb me. I really need to, as I would say, use my whole brain right now, and they'll leave you alone. This will take training. All right, so I had to make some decisions about how I was going to run my life working from home. The whole key to this is to stay focused on what you're supposed to be doing. Because if you're like me, I am a huge putter. I love to putter around my house. Just going to the kitchen can be a whole adventure. I could, you know, organize the linen closet. I could get the vacuum out, you know, a lot of different things. So my whole focus and it is to stay focused. It's been a way to train myself by taking out the distractions, by just creating rules for myself. It just makes it easier. All right, so here's some of my rules. No TV. During the day, no TV. There's something about the sound of a television that just sort of puts me a little bit into a coma. And I need my energy to be up and moving and going. And also, you know, before you know it, you've watched 3 morning shows, you know, and you've kind of lost your groove. The other thing, now that none of the news is really particularly good, it can be very distressing. So I don't watch the news anyway. I have other ways of family members tell me what's going on, as little as possible. So this is not new. It's been like this for me, oh gosh, a long time, like maybe 20 years. So make sure that you're paying attention to what you're putting inside of you from outside forces, because it definitely matters. Whether there's a crisis or not, that matters. I don't clean my house during the day. Now, when I first moved here, this is pretty funny. I live with my boyfriend, and he is a CPA, and so he goes to the office, right? He's very much into the whole office thing. And my laundry would be in the laundry room in front of the washing machine, and he would come home from work. He's like, "Why didn't you just throw a load in?" And I said, "I'm at work. Like, I'm working now. It's not laundry time." Because it's really easy to do the laundry, and then again, you're down, that little hole of, now you're folding it, now you're hanging it, now, I just really want to stay focused while I'm at work. Same thing with the straightening and the puttering. If my bed is not made when I start working, it does not get made. Now, where my office is now, I can't see any of that. So if my bed is made or not doesn't bother me. It does bother some people, and I used to live in an apartment where I could see my bed from my desk, and it did bother me. So what I did was I made sure I made my bed before I sat at my desk. I could see the kitchen, so I made sure that that was straight. So there were a few things that got under my skin a little bit and pulled me away from work, so I just handled those before I sat down. No shopping. Shopping is like TV. I don't have a slide for social media, but I should. I have to be on social media quite a lot for some of the work that I do. I post for people on social media and manage their pages and profiles and things. However, I don't go hang out in my feed. I just check the things that I need to do. That's something I do usually in the morning for a couple minutes just to see what's happening, and then at night. So you really want to make sure that you honor that. This was interesting because when you have a job, people can call you at work, and sometimes you can answer, sometimes you can't. But they were used to being able to, my friends and family, they were used to being able to call me at work. And, and I would talk. But what happens is if someone calls me in the middle of my day, let's say I'm working on a project, my brain is really engaged, I'm in there, and then all of a sudden a phone call comes out of the blue, it totally throws me off. It's so funny when that happens. Sometimes I can't even talk for a second because I'm so into the task that I'm doing. So my friends and my family are now trained. In fact, when they call during the day, my first thing is, "Hey, are you okay?" Because the only reason they would call me is if there's something I really need to know. And also saying, "Hey, are you okay?" reinforces the "I can't talk to you during my day." So that's the deal. Now, I do have times. You're going to think I'm such a rigid person, which I don't think I really am, but maybe you can make your own judgments. But I do talk on the treadmill. So I'll get on the treadmill and talk to all my friends. I go on walks. I talk to them then. I talk when I'm driving in the car. Really, I guess, when I'm in transition. But my hours during the day are really important to me to make my business successful. So when you work at home, or when you work anywhere really, you need to make a plan for your day. So there's a couple different ways that I do that, but I want to show you my calendar. Okay, so I block my time. I do it to make sure that I'm putting important things in my personal life on here that I don't want to miss. Let me say one more thing before I do this. Just have one calendar. I know that especially if you have your own business and you're working from home, because you're just one person, so make sure that you have one calendar so that you don't miss things and you don't have multiple places to check. I also only have one email address, and if you have a job, you can't always do that, and I probably wouldn't. But if you have your own business and it's not, if your inbox doesn't go completely crazy, because you're selling things online or something, I would encourage you to have one email address so that you can have one consolidated life. I see a lot of, especially new entrepreneurs. One of my clients has 4 calendars, and I am not kidding. She has 7 email addresses, and it's a mess. Oh, someone just asked a question. Do I use Google or Microsoft for email and calendar? I I use Google. I use paid Google. So here's what that means. I'm allowed to use my own domain. So instead of my email address being rocketgirlsolutions@gmail.com, my email address is belinda@rocketgirlsolutions. However, I do use Gmail and Google Calendar. I have clients who use Outlook and 365, Office 365. And so I use that as well. I have one client, I do his schedule for him. It's pretty complicated, and he uses that. So I probably use that calendar in some cases more than my own because I'm in it so many hours a week. Either one is fine. There used to be a time probably about 8 years ago when I switched, excuse me, I switched to Google because I was having really bad issues with my phone and my computer and Outlook syncing, and I was missing things, and I had to look on multiple spots because I wasn't sure things were syncing. So that's when I switched. I like Google also because it integrates with, I think, a lot more things. I have it integrated with my CRM. I have it integrated with, I have a link on my website where anybody can schedule 30 minutes with me to talk about their business. And by the way, that's available to you all as well. It's just in the lower right-hand corner, you just click a button. And that is integrated with this calendar too, so that if someone, like you'll see, well, right here, this meeting right here in the middle, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but that meeting was scheduled without me being involved. And in fact, she even moved it. She even moved the meeting. It was another day, and she moved it to next week without me being involved at all. So all my clients can just jump on my calendar. I have parameters set, absolutely, but they can just jump on my calendar. Okay, so let's see, where was I? Time blocking. All right. So I look at my calendar constantly. It's really become my, it's my guide. It's like my map. It didn't always used to be like that. I used to have, my work was different a few years ago, and I needed project management software to manage it, but I noticed I was using it less and less. And so what I do is I use like I said, I use my calendar as a guide. What a lot of people do, and this is just a general business tip, is they use their email inbox to manage their workflow, and that is a gigantic mistake, because it's like, I like to think it's like keeping your bills in your mailbox at the end of the street, right? It doesn't make sense. Email is just a delivery mechanism. That's all it is. And you want to get it out of there, and you want to get it into some kind of flow so you can do your work. So that's a whole other topic, which I could talk about for 2 hours. But so what happens is when an email comes in and I'm not going to just handle it, what I do is I put the task on my calendar. Or I also use it to remind me, like, see right here, it says, bug Martha about testimonials. Martha's one of my clients, and about 2 months ago, she's like, can you bug me in like a couple of months about my testimonials? If I wrote that on a piece of paper, I don't even know where that would be, right? I don't really use paper. So I put it right on my calendar, and if I have to have more context, there's a place to do that. You can add the description, or I might say in there, look in Evernote, and all my notes could be in Evernote. Okay, so the purple those are meetings that I have to be at. Someone's expecting me to show up, whether it's Zoom or a phone call or whatever it is. And so those are things that can't move. That's also true with these yellow. Those yellow things mean I'm going to be on camera. So I have to make sure that I have the right clothes on. I have to make sure that I'm ready. And in all those cases, I'm giving a presentation. So that requires a little bit more prep time. So that's why they're yellow, because they stand out. The turquoise, I guess, is bluish color. Those are things that are movable. So there are things that I need to do, but I can move them. Like if I don't do Nick Miller's Facebook right there, it's okay, but it's at the top, so I can usually do those things first thing in the morning. However, if this time passes, I'll just scoot it down here so that it's always it's sort of like a electronic to-do list on my calendar. I guess that's the way I would describe it. And then I put my walk on here for a couple of reasons. I used to walk in the morning, but now that we're in the house all day, and my family is here as well, we all go for a walk at 5:30 every night, just to get some fresh air and to spend some time together. And so I have that there because it's a signal for me to stop. And that doesn't mean I can't come back if I want to my desk, but it is a signal to stop. And because of when the sun goes down, I need to do it right then. Okay, so that is that. All right, so the other things I want to talk about are how to really keep ourselves together here. Peace of mind when working at home it's really, really important. It's important because for me, I can only do my best work when I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm able to have good ideas, and I'm not being pulled in a lot of different directions. So whatever that routine is for you, it's really important to make sure that you're taking care of that, because this slide is what it really looks like, right? You've got people bringing information in on all sides, and it can be very distracting. And there's also the other thing, there are a lot of shoulds around the house, you know, like I should make my bed, or I should do this, or the floor shouldn't look like that. So it is important that you make some kind of separation from your house as much as you can. I mentioned exercise. This is my friend Ellen. She has a local fitness studio where I will work out again in the fall probably, or hopefully this summer. In the meantime, I'm getting outside every day. Really important. It's so easy to become a hermit when you work at home. It really is. So make sure that you schedule things for you during the day. Or I shouldn't say during the day, because I just told you not to do anything during the day. During your week is really what I meant. And it can be during the day. The other thing, I have a client who's a nutritionist, and this is a picture from her website, which is so beautiful. Really need to eat good food. It's so easy when you work at home to live on, you know, Luna bars and pizza. So make sure that you have what you need in the house for working from home. One of the things that is a really great thing to do is to prepare food ahead of time. I've never been really good at that, but if you can do that, it's awesome, you know, so that the lettuce is already washed and, you know, whatever you're going to eat is there, and you just take a couple minutes to pull it together. That's really good too, to keep up, you know, to keep up your energy. And this is true if you have a job as well, but I do think there's something about working from home. You know, it's just easy to have on sweatpants and eat pizza. So I have pizza for dinner. I love pizza, but make sure you're eating good food working from home. Get out of the house. So this is a group of women called the Entrepreneurial Women's Club that I'm the co-director of, and this was taken a while ago, but we're going to meet virtually. We're going to meet virtually on the 23rd. So definitely think about how you can stay social and stay in your key relationships, and use Zoom as a way to virtually get out of the house. I know a lot of people I've heard are doing like my daughter's boyfriend's mother is taking tap dancing lessons on Zoom, which I think is hysterical. So make sure that you're virtually getting out of the house. The other thing you can do is create things that make you go out of the house. We've got backyard chickens about a year ago, and so every day, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, I go out, I check them, I give them food. So that's something that anchors my routine. I have to get the chickens, let them out before a certain time, or all kinds of crazy things happen. So try to figure out how, you know, what the triggers are going to be for you. For years, it was my daughter had to get to school, and then she learned how to drive. So it became my daughter has to wake up. But then when she went to college, all of a sudden I needed a trigger, and so the chickens are a trigger for me. So make sure that you think about that as well. Definitely friends. Now this is my friend in Boston, and what we used to do for years is we would go for walks and we would talk on the phone. So you don't have to have meetings in person. And this was years ago that we did this. We still do it. So make sure that you have friends that you can count on. So we are ending a little early, which I did not anticipate, but I would love to answer questions about really anything related to business, because I've spent the last 9 years in the back end of all kinds of businesses. And I can answer any questions you have about business in general or specifically on this topic, if that's okay with SCORE. Oh, do I have a phone charger? So there's a question. Do I have a phone charger at my desk? Yes, I do. So I can describe my desk. So I have oh, so this is good too. I have an Alexa. I was a holdout for a really long time, but what I use Alexa for is setting timers. So I'll notice that I have a meeting on my calendar in the morning, and it's really easy for me to get focused on something and just oh, okay, let me just go back to this picture here. Somebody made a good recommendation. Sorry, I have to do it this way. Okay. All right. So let me describe the setup for you. So I have Alexa, and Alexa reminds me of meetings. So I have, like today at 2 o'clock, I have to do another video call. It would be really easy for me to look up and it's 2:01. So I have Alexa remind me 5 minutes before. And so I can just say, Alexa, set a timer or an alarm, and she does that. The other things that I have on my desk, you'll see, I have like, this is a little basket here. This is where I keep my my earbuds, the credit card that I always use when I need a credit card for work. I have a Mac laptop, and I use that as well, mostly for text, because texting on my phone is just too hard. It's someone. Oh, so someone asked, Alexa records everything. I know. I unplug it when it's private. Alexa is unplugged right now because I didn't want to turn her on and during this meeting by accident. So I just pulled the plug out. Yeah, I held out for Alexa for a really long time. But I was thinking about doing something called a flash briefing, which is it's sort of like a radio show that happens every day. And so I bought Alexa to do some research on that. And then one day I just plugged it in because I just wanted to see what it was. All right, so there's a question about social media scheduling. What tool do I recommend? That depends on what you're using social media for. So when I do social media for clients, 9 times out of 10 I use Buffer. I like Buffer. It's affordable. It's easy to use. What happens is you set your schedule in the tool, and you then drop content into the queue. And what happens is it just sort of pops it out. You can load 100 different pieces of content, and then Buffer just pushes it out at the time that you've requested. If you have a more complicated social media life, or you're managing it for lots of people, there's a tool called Meet Edgar. It's kind of expensive. I don't know how much Buffer is. I think it's probably $15 a month. Meet Edgar is more like $400 or $500 a year. However, I do have some clients that have complex social media strategies, and it would cost them more of my time than the $500 to just sort of set it up and keep it running. So that's what I do. Is Buffer like Hootsuite? Yes, I haven't used Hootsuite in a long time. I do know people who have used it and like it. To me, Buffer just seems more user friendly to me. Oh, someone said it's Meet Alfred. It's actually Meet Edgar, EDGAR, Meet Edgar. It's a little octopus is their logo. He's very cute. Okay, I work with 2 monitors. Can you explain what you use the 3rd monitor for? Thanks for these questions, you guys. Yeah, okay, so imagine this. So you're seeing my monitors right now. Let's say I am doing something very simple like a calendar, like I'm doing a schedule, okay? So for my client, he has meetings all over the planet, different time zones, and I have to track all the people I'm waiting to hear back from. So on the right-hand monitor, I have a Google Sheet, and it's a Google Sheet so he can see it as well. And I have, my lists of who I'm contacting, who I'm waiting for, who's been scheduled, things like that. In the middle, I have his calendar, and on the right, I have his email is open, my email account for him. So I'm looking at his calendar, I'm writing the email, and then I'm making a note over on the left-hand side of the status of this particular person. Another thing is I do email newsletters for a lot of people. So on one screen, the right screen, I would put the Microsoft Word document that they send me. In the middle, I would have MailChimp or Constant Contact open. And then on the third window, I would have my email. So I would put the text into MailChimp. I would send myself a test, and then I can see the test at the same time I can see MailChimp to make any modifications, or I can look in the Word document and see if I made a mistake. So there's lots of things like that. Balancing your checkbook, you have the credit card processing account open on one, you have QuickBooks on the other, you have your bank statement on the right. It's just like a dream come true. I completely love it. Okay, let's see. Let me just look at the questions real quick. All right. Oh, and the other thing is, just so you know, the monitors are separate, but they act as one. So you just drag things back and forth between them very easily. Okay. So, someone asked, can I list some of the, okay, I'll do that later. Later on, I'm going to list some of the things I do for clients. You mentioned Evernote. What do you use it for? I use Evernote for my client notes. So what happens is I get on the phone with a client and they start telling me about the work. Can you do this? What do you think about that? And so what I do, because I can't write, I can type faster than I write, and also because I try to avoid paper, because then I have to know where it is, I take notes in Evernote. So what I do is I have a notebook in Evernote called Rocket Girl Client Work, and then each client has a note that's named their first and last name. So when I get on the phone, I pull up their note and I start typing, what they're telling me. I create a line across the last note, and then the most current notes are always at the top. I like that. Everything that I do is in the cloud, so I can have it wherever I am. And that started because I used to live in Boston, and then I moved to Connecticut, but for about 3 years, I was going back and forth on the weekends to Connecticut. And so I had an office here in Connecticut where I live now, and I had one in Boston. I could literally grab my notebook and my suitcase and get in the car, and everything was exactly the same. My calendar was the same. My files, I use Dropbox to store my files. I use Google, so everything is everywhere, and it's even on my laptop. I can access everything. All right, so that's what I use Evernote for. What do you use to share your screen with? Zoom. I use Zoom. That's the primary reason I got Zoom. I didn't do video until about a year ago, and it was never on camera. And I used to have Join.me, and my clients had trouble with it. My clients are not always very technical and experienced with the computer, so it was very important to me to make it as easy as possible. And Zoom is the application that I like best for that. I mean, they can share their screen, I can share mine. They rarely get lost there, but they absolutely got lost in Join Me when I was using that. Okay, I have another message. Let's see. All right. Looks like I've answered all the questions. So somebody asked me to, but keep them coming because we've got some time. Somebody asked me, and let me just change this back. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. Somebody asked me, I have to do this. Someone asked me to describe some of, I want to make sure you have this. Someone asked me to describe what I do. So I work primarily with solo professionals, people who work on their own, and very, very small business owners, very small. And I act as their part-time business manager. So what I do is I help them by updating their websites. I got another question that's really good. I'm going to come to it. I update their websites. I do a lot of email newsletters. I don't ever provide content, but they'll give me the document. I'll put it into MailChimp. I'll post it on social media. Like I mentioned, I have one client I schedule for him about 4 or 5 hours a week. He has a big business and a lot of complications in his travels. So I do that. His business meetings. I do all kinds of things. I have clients that sell things online. They sell courses, and I help them with that. I set up credit card processing for people so that they can take credit card payments. I do a lot of PowerPoint presentations. I help them. My clients will they will send me a really messy PowerPoint or a bunch of Word document, and I brand it for them and make it look nice. So, and then anything technical. I'm kind of a geek. I've been one for a really long time, and so anything technical like that. So here's the question that made me laugh. How do you set boundaries with housemates? That it made me laugh because it's been such an iteration. So when I first moved here, my boyfriend has 4 sons, and I would be in the middle of working, and I worked in a little part of our bedroom when I first moved here, and they would just walk right in, like they had no concept of of like Belinda's at work. And so it was just really it's just really educating them, because they were not familiar with any kind of work at home kind of a thing. It just never occurred to them. So I just kind of gently explain it. My daughter grew up with me working at home, so she knows. When I'm on the phone with a client, she can text me, but she can't talk to me, because I can't process. I can process reading while someone's talking to me, but I can't process 2 voices. And the last thing I want to do is start listening to her, and then I have to say to my client, I didn't really catch that, because it's like I'm not paying attention, which is bad. So she can text me. So over time, we've created rules. Now my rule is I have a door. I didn't have a door for a long time. When the door's closed, I'm live with someone, so please don't come in. So that's kind of it. They know that I'm serious about my work. My work contributes to the financial well-being of this household, and I think that also helps them have respect for that as well. Okay, so all right, what else do we have here? Oh, what do I use for Oh, thanks. Well, I have a graphics guy who I love. His name is Mark Tatro, and his business is rotategraphics.com. He's in Providence. So he did this caricature of me. You don't know what I look like, but I'm not skinny like that. But I do have big blonde hair. He does them. I get my images from 123RF. That's a really good resource, and the images are only $2 each, so it's nice, and they have pretty nice, pretty good ones. The other thing I use Photoshop, but that's because all these new things were not invented when I started making graphics. I had another business before this that was highly graphical. Canva is my new favorite thing, I have to say. I didn't use it for a really long time, because I thought it was gonna be really dumbed down, and it was gonna be hard to use, because I couldn't, I really couldn't get it under the hood with it. And it's not true at all. I had to create a report, a free download for someone, and I used Canva reports, and I was able to change the graphics enough that it really was beautiful and branded, and it was not the quality that my graphics person Mark would create, but it did the trick. And you don't always need the highest quality graphics. Sometimes you just need to do the trick, and that's what this did. Okay, so I've got a note, clipart.com at $150 per hour. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but maybe you can explain a little bit more. Oh, per year. Oh, got it. Oh, okay. So clipart.com. There is you can get graphics there, and it sounds like unlimited per year. $150, or maybe it's 150. Yes. So that's great too. There's lots of different places. iStock Photo is good. That tends to be more expensive. I think those images are about $30. Some of my clients use those for their newsletters. So that's what I do for graphics. Trying to think of any other cool thing. Oh, I know this. When I found out about this, I told my clients, and they lost their minds. So I'm going to tell you. Gmail has the ability to create templates. So if you email the same email over and over and over, but you want to send it individually and you want to customize it a little bit, there is a way to make a template. So what you do is you go into the Gmail settings, and I can't look at my screen right now, but in the settings, you can Google this. In the settings, you enable templates. I think it's on the very last tab. I can't remember, but it's in one of the tabs way over to the right once you go into settings, and it's a page with only maybe 4 things on it, so you'll definitely see it. And then when you go back to your email, you'll look down at the bottom where the controls are, like, you know, to make things bold and things like that. So see 3 little dots, and if you click on that, you can walk yourself through making Google templates. So that's a trick that I learned recently that I use that a lot, because I speak a lot and I like to email the participants afterward and follow up with them. So that's a good use of that. All right, so someone's asking, will you be making these slides available? If so, how? The webinars, so what I'm hearing is the webinar is recorded. It will be available for streaming within 24 hours. And, you know, I don't know about the slides. I have to leave that up to SCORE, how they handle that. So another thing, I write a newsletter. I'd love for you guys to be subscribers. So if you want to text Rocket Girl to this number here, 917-905-8801, I'll give you, you'll get a free download, and it's the 7 biggest mistakes small business owners make when trying to grow their business, and that is that'll come to you automatically, and then you'll be subscribing to my newsletter. I'm giving another talk for SCORE soon. I'm trying to remember. I believe it's on the 27th. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. I'm trying to remember what the topic is. I think it might be the 7 biggest mistakes. That's why it came to my mind. But anyway, watch the SCORE emails that go out, and it'll be another webinar that I'm providing. So, all right. So here's a question. Oh, email marketing. Okay, so thank you. So Bill is telling me what I'm speaking on is email marketing, and so this is kind of interesting. So email newsletters were something that started a really long time ago, and I think that people kind of have discounted them, but I have to say my email newsletter is absolutely my secret weapon. It's how I've been able to have clients. I have 50 current clients all over the country and in Europe, and that's one way that I keep in touch with them. So the talk that I'm going to be giving is very specific about how I use my newsletters to do that, how the topics that I talk about, and so if you're interested in that. And so here's the other thing. So the world stops, right? And what do all my clients want to do? They want to email their clients with their newsletter. The first week, when everybody was talking about all the downtime, I was drinking from a fire hose because everyone wanted to do their newsletter to get in touch with their clients. So if you have a business and you want to grow it, come to this talk. Like I said, I think it's April 27th, and it's all about, I think it's called Why My Email Newsletter is My Secret Weapon or something like that. And it's going to be really fun. And I'm going to get right in the weeds and explain to you step by step, you know, how to set it up, what tools to use, and it'll be a good webinar. Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, if you guys have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I think I'll turn it over to.
Well, thanks, Belinda. This is Tim.
Hi, Tim.
It was great. A lot of good tips there. As a reminder, a recording of this webinar and the materials are available within a couple of days on the fairfieldcounty.score.org website. Please check out the website for information on upcoming webinars. Again, SCORE offers free individual counseling, so please use the link on the screen or visit our website and click Request a Mentor. We are available for sessions via phone, email, or video. Also, please fill out your evaluations that have been sent at the end of the webinar. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's SCORE live webinar. In closing today, a big thanks to Belinda for presenting today. Have a nice rest of your day, everyone. Bye.